Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Vajrajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Vajrajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parvajakracharya Astar Sata Shri Shri Mad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaura Premananda. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. So today we're going to be going over Bhagavad Gita chapter 10, text 10. Tesham sadada yuktanam Bhajatam priti purvakam Tadami buddhi yogam tam Yena mam upayanti te Tesham sadada yuktanam Bhajatam priti purvakam Dadami buddhi yogam tam Yena mam upayanti te. Anyone else want to try? Satya Yutanam Sampati Purvakam Ami Buddhi Yagam Tam Yena Mam Upayanti Te. Anyone else? Tesham Satya Yutanam Kadam Buddhi Purvakam Kadami Buddhi Yogam Tam Yena Mam Upayanti Te. So Tesham, unto them, Sada Yuktanam, always engaged, Bhajatam, in rendering devotional service, Priti Purvakam, in loving ecstasy, Dadami, I give, Buddhi Yogam, real intelligence, Tam, that, Yena, by which, Mam, unto me, Upayanti, come, te, they. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Purport. In this verse, the word Buddhi Yogam is very significant. We may remember that in the second chapter, the Lord, instructing Arjuna, said that he had spoken to him of many things and that he would instruct him in the way of Buddhi Yoga. Now, Buddhi Yoga is explained. Buddhi Yoga itself is action in Krishna consciousness. That is the highest intelligence. Buddhi means intelligence, and yoga means mystic activities or mystic elevation. When one tries to go back home, back to Godhead, and take fully to Krishna consciousness in devotional service, his action is called Buddhi Yoga. In other words, Buddhi Yoga is the process by which one gets out of the entanglement of this material world. The ultimate goal of progress is Krishna. People do not know this. Therefore, the association of devotees and a bona fide spiritual master are important. One should know that the goal is Krishna. And when the goal is assigned, then the path is slowly but progressively traversed, and the ultimate goal is achieved. When a person knows the goal of life, but is addicted to the fruits of activities, he is acting in karma yoga. When he knows that the goal is Krishna, but he takes pleasure and mental speculations to understand Krishna, he is acting in jnana yoga. And when he knows the goal and seeks Krishna completely in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, he is acting in bhakti yoga or buddhi yoga, which is the complete yoga. This complete yoga is the highest perfectional stage of life. A person may have a bona fide spiritual master and may be attached to a spiritual organization, but if he is still not intelligent enough to make progress, then Krishna from within gives him instructions so that he may ultimately come to him without difficulty. The qualification is that a person always engage himself in Krishna consciousness and with love and devotion render all kinds of service. He should perform some sort of work for Krishna, and that work should be with love. If a devotee is not intelligent enough to make progress on the path of self-realization, but is sincere and devoted to the activities of devotional service, the Lord gives him a chance to make progress and ultimately attain to him. Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, in the synonyms, Srila Prabhupada translates Buddhi Yogam as real intelligence. Now, people today are talking a lot about artificial intelligence. And, I'm not opposed to that. It can be engaged in Krishna's service, but only if it's done for that purpose is it worthwhile, really, in terms of achieving the ultimate goal of life. Intelligence exists in two kinds. There's spiritual intelligence, which is a feature of the soul, and then there's material intelligence, which is the intelligence that's associated with the subtle material body of the living entity. According to this understanding, the understanding of the Bhagavad Gita, each of us is made of three things, basically. A subtle material body, a gross material body, and the soul, the actual self, the actual conscious, individual, personal self. So, you could understand that in terms of a computer analogy. The gross material body is made up of the physical elements, and that is part of what we are. And beyond that, there is the subtle material body made of mind, intelligence, and false ego. So that is compared to the computer software that lets a person interact with the computer hardware, which is like the gross physical body. The subtle material body is like the computer software. And the actual person who's using the computer and the software is the soul, the Atma. Now, our gross physical bodies are limited in time. They come into existence at some point in time, and then they go out of existence at some point in time. And the soul may go through cycles of reincarnation, taking one type of material body after another. According to the Vedic literature, there are 8,400,000 species of life. So the human form is considered a very valuable, the most valuable form, because in the human form, we have the intelligence to understand what our situation is. We're not in the natural environment of the soul. We're in the material realm, which is not our real environment. And in the material world, by false ego, we identify with the material body. Now, during one's stay in the material world, one may take millions of births in different kinds of material bodies. But during that whole stay, one retains the same subtle material body of mind, intelligence, and false ego. So, according to the state of the subtle body at the time of death, that's what determines what kind of body one will get in one's next life. So the same subtle material body will stay with us until the time that we become completely free from all material desires and attachments, and are fully absorbed in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, that means it stays with us. The subtle material body stays with us during the entire time that the soul is in the material world. So, intelligence is, in terms of its function, higher than the mind, but not at the same level of the soul. So the mind is always presenting us with options. Should I come to the temple today, or should I watch the women's basketball championship? Obviously, your intelligence directed your mind in a different way. Directed you, I'm coming to the Hare Krishna temple today. I'm going to see the deities of Krishna. I'm going to chant Hare Krishna. So that is, as explained here, Krishna giving us proper intelligence to make the right kinds of decisions. Now, if Krishna sees that a person is sincere and serious about understanding his or her real identity and coming to some understanding of what one's position in this world, in this universe is, then Krishna will give such a person intelligence. Krishna is in the heart of every living entity. He knows our history better than we do. He knows ourselves better than we know ourselves. And he's just waiting for us to turn towards him, and then he offers guidance. He gives the intelligence by which we can approach him. and that can come in different ways. Actually, sometimes people talk about spiritual masters, gurus. The original guru of everyone is Krishna in the heart of all living beings. It's called Chaitya Guru, technically in Sanskrit. The Lord in the heart, the Guru in the heart. And for the materialists who want to dominate and control matter and other material living beings in material bodies, Krishna gives them the intelligence to do that. So this universe that we're in has a dual purpose. It's an opportunity for souls who wish to try to enjoy independently of Krishna to do that. But at the same time, it's also an opportunity for souls who find themselves here it's an opportunity for them to qualify themselves to exist on the spiritual platform, which is the natural environment of the soul. So the Guru, Krishna as the Guru in the heart, will guide a person he sees, he'll guide the soul that he sees wants to go in that direction. He will give them guidance, not in the form of directly speaking to them, that that comes at a different stage of advancement in devotional service. Um, during the initial stages, Krishna will just give people intuitions or feelings that they should act in a particular way. But ultimately, when one makes progress to the platform of spontaneous attraction to devotional service, our acharyas, our spiritual masters say that at that point one can speak directly with Krishna. But at the stage where a person becomes formally interested in taking up some practice to actually do something in a relationship to Krishna, perform some service for Krishna, Krishna, as the supersoul in the heart, guides that person to a spiritual master. Of course, I say a spiritual master. There are, according to our tradition, three kinds of spiritual masters. There's the Vartma Pradarshika Guru, the person who first introduces one to Krishna consciousness. And then there is the Shiksha Guru, the instructing spiritual master, who gives one practical advice, practical direction in how to practice Krishna consciousness, how to engage in devotional service, and many other topics. And then there's also the Diksha Guru, who gives initiation, formally initiates one into the disciplic succession, the chain of spiritual masters that goes ultimately back to Krishna himself. So, through these different methods, Krishna, as stated in this verse, gives guidance to those who sincerely desire to know him, love him, serve him. And that is the real use of intelligence. It's interesting to see the many ways in which intelligence can be misused, because there are many people in this world who are extremely intelligent in terms of their ability to manipulate matter. They're extremely intelligent, they're extremely talented and active, but ultimately, we have to ask, what is the purpose of it all? I mean, according to their understanding, we're accidental beings in an accidental universe. Somehow or other, this universe has come into existence, and some of the chemicals in it combined together to form some first living thing, and it somehow or other consciousness developed from matter, and we're just here to enjoy ourselves as much as we can, because at the time of death everything is finished for the individual. And even, they think at some point the universe will collapse into a black hole and everything will be finished. So what is the ultimate result of all this use of material intelligence to manipulate matter in its different forms, it's ultimately, according to even their own understanding, it's no permanent gain. But use of intelligence of the kind that's mentioned here, which is real intelligence, not artificial intelligence. The intelligence that is part of the subtle material body that is helping the mind make decisions, because we're constantly being presented with options. Should I go to school, or should I get a job, or should I do both? You know, the intelligence guides the mind in making a decision. And if one has material intelligence, it may guide one to a very prominent position in human society, because some souls, by their karma, are very expert at manipulating matter. But no matter how expert they are at manipulating matter in terms of making scientific or technological discoveries or attaining great fame in human society as some kind of artist or performer or sports personality or politician or soldier, no matter how expert they are in manipulating that, ultimately there's no purpose to it, no final result, other than it just happened. Because they're identifying with a self, a picture they have of their self that is not their real self. You know, that's what false ego means. Ahankara, or false ego, means although I am a spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Mamaivamso jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana manasastan indriyani prakriti stani karsati. He says every soul is part of me. And now, however, the soul, having forgotten that and come under the influence of false ego, thinks, I'm this material body, this temporary material body, and acts on that basis. So it's like people identify with a phantom. You know, the material body is temporary. It's not the real self, but a person identifies with it and tries to use it to attain happiness in this world. But ultimately, everyone is in the same position. Janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshana darshanam. And a really intelligent person will be able to make the distinction between spirit and matter, between the soul and the body, and the mind, and the intelligence, because the soul is higher than all of those things. The soul has its own spiritual intelligence, spiritual willing capacity, its spiritual form, and that can be reawakened. And how that is done is through using these subtle and gross bodies that we have at the present moment by engaging them in acts of devotional service, by using our by placing our placing our senses in contact with spiritual sense objects, we can gradually become prepared to leave behind the gross and subtle material bodies and be established in our Swarupa, Jivara Swarupa Hoy Krishnara Nitya Das, the actual form of each of us is an eternal servant of Krishna. And that service is carried out in different moods and relationships. I mean, people talk about artificial intelligence. I was at a conference on consciousness studies last year, and I met a researcher there who is working on what she called artificial emotions. In other words, training computers, robots to understand what emotions people are feeling by scanning their faces, analyzing their behavior, and then like every other technology, it will be used to exploit people, to extract money from them, to control their behavior. It's even, to me, it's even more scary in some ways than artificial intelligence. Because ultimately that's what we're all after. We're all after the perfect relationship. The mother, father enjoy the relationship with the child. A friend enjoys the association of a friend. There's a relationship of lover and beloved, master and servant. So everyone is looking for the perfect relationship. And real intelligence means understanding that the real relationship, the perfect relationship that we're all searching for, is in the relationship of the soul to Krishna, the Supreme Soul. And if we're able to establish that, then we're able to be in perfect harmony and in perfect relationships with all of Krishna's other parts and parcels. Now that is the ultimate goal. Like Krishna is saying, Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam Yena Mamu Bhayanti Te, that they will attain me. That's the goal of this Buddhi Yoga, this real intelligence. So we already have artificial intelligence. I mean, that's material intelligence. It's not a new thing. And it is artificial because it's not the real intelligence, which is Buddhi Yoga, engaging in pure devotional service to Lord Krishna. So, what time is it getting to be? Okay, I'll stop here. Any question or comment? Okay, thank you very much. Enjoy the feast.